Okay, let's go.
Ted,
That's me,
tell everybody who you are.
Ted Hammerman, aka Mr. Fish. I've been Mr. Fish since they invented dirt. I am from New Jersey, born in Princeton, lived on a chicken farm. My father never wanted to be a farmer in the first place, okay, but this thing called World War II was coming around, and my grandfather, being an ordained rabbi, moved to Prineville, New Jersey, and bought a farm to show the U.S. government that he was essential for the farm to function. But my grandfather then kind of had second thoughts and had to talk with God to make sure that he was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And my grandfather had this little chicken farm. Well, when my father got back from the war, a wounded vet, and my parents borrowed a little bit of money, and they bought a farm a mile away. So this was a farm with 10 acres, and that later became 40 acres, and, of which I farmed down the road. But I grew up with 30,000 chickens, egg-laying chickens. I mean, I was traumatized. People would sit next to me on the school bus because Harriman's got duty on his shoe. We had a lot of chicken duty. I've had many people ask, how did you end up in fish? I said, well, it really wasn't fish was my calling, nor was it eggs at the time. Now I look back in retrospect, eggs would have been a good idea. Well, I was wooing my then, before I married her, I was wooing Lisa, who was a cousin to this girl that I graduated college with. I was going back and forth from Columbia to Myrtle Beach at the time. So finally I said to hell with it. I had enough of Columbia, a hot box in the summer. And I showed up one day, actually with my mother, because she wanted to meet her, and put her into shock with my furniture and said, hey, I'm here. I got a job with the construction manager, and they were building a place called the Conway Hospital on Singleton Ridge Road. There was nothing but dirt roads to get to it. So I was there. So during that period, I brought down all my tools from New Jersey because I was a building trades instructor in Piscataway. So I'm telling you, that's the time frame is off. It's like 77, 78. It wasn't 70. And I moved all my tools into Chicken Charlie's warehouse in Merle's Inlet. Used to be Wagon Wheel Farms. So I rented a little part of his chicken coop, actually. And we were hanging around Merle's Inlet a lot, living over here though. And I noticed that the black sea bass boats were using a modified crab pot to catch these fish in the wintertime. So I said, that's pretty rude and crude because it's a box. It's a cube with 2 inlets. I said, surely we can do better. Meanwhile, I had to hook my welder up and made a nice little shop there. So I had the 220 power. And so we came up with a round trap that was tapered. And consequently, that same boat that could only go out with 10 traps can go out now with 40 with ours. So I put an ad in National Fisherman Magazine. Within 2 months of selling traps, United Nations contacts me. The days of telexes, no computers, no fax machines. And before I know it, I'm on a plane going to Sri Lanka as a UN consultant. Meanwhile, my then-to-be wife says, "Oh, you know, hello there, I'm pregnant." Well, damn, how'd that happen? So, get married real quick, get on the plane, see ya. The concept, the way I see it, if there are no sparks from your fingertips, okay, if you're just some knuckle-dragging, drooling schlub that gets up in the morning, oh, okay, I'm alive, I'll go to work, okay. But the word is, the concept, the mantra, is manifest destiny. See? So, again, manifest destiny, if there's no sparks from your fingertips, you know, life should be inconsequential, dull. For me to really make a difference is the guy in the canoe would take 5 of my traps. Okay? And then I later made this all-American fish stick, I called it. Basically, I took long bamboo, drilled holes, juxtaposed, hooks. So he went out, he would go out in the morning from his beach home hut, toss the gear overboard, right? Meaning the fish traps, you bait them up, and then you put a little bit of bait on the hooks on 5 fish sticks, throw it overboard, have a cup of coffee, then pull your fish sticks, pull them in, take the fish off, put it up, take the 5 traps, and he would go back to shore and he maybe would burn 1 gallon of diesel fuel. Maybe. If not, he would sail on his boat. So it was wind driven. And then he would have enough fish to feed his family and to sell and convert into money. Yes, I did my job. Very proud of it. So, fish farming. If there are no fish farms, there would be no fish, because we have truly, and this is coming from a guy who's traveled, there's been a lot of species that have been decimated. There are some that are coming back because of countries like America, who gives a damn. So, but you want fish to perpetuate, so your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren will have something to eat, instead of going to Ripley's and seeing it swimming around. I'm involved in a farm. They should break ground this July, and this one's very unique. It's a couple ex-Apple execs and people with deep pockets, and the state of South Carolina gave them 35 acres, and in Orangeburg, South Carolina, which has one of the highest unemployment rate. And that's going to be a fish farm for redfish, drum. Working with my daughter is always very interesting, fulfilling, but she understands the manifest destiny. She understands the sparks from the fingertips. Okay, Mr. Fish officially opened when I got back from Sri Lanka, but then I started making traps again, and it was just too involved. I didn't have the shop anymore. I had this Atlantic Gulf Fishing Supply. They were buying my fish sticks, but I couldn't put it back together. So, but I did know where all these different marinas are, from Southport down to Charleston. So I would buy truckloads of bait. And the only cold storage back then was in Conway. And so I started selling ballyhoo, squid, cut mullet. And so I baited up every boat from Southport to Mount Pleasant in a pickup truck. So I'd get a box of diapers and a car seat, a kiddie car seat, and I'd plop Shayna in it and a couple bottles and load up a ton of squid, and off we went. We were trucking. I eventually put a freezer in Myrtle's Inlet, And Shannon rode with me everywhere. I mean, all around. That's what we did. And my wife was still working. She was at Long Way Supply. You know, it's mom and pop. And then a friend of mine, he opened up this little place, little seafood market. So I bought him out, and I became a fishman. And that initial impact of, you know, opening the doors and having a physical plant, and icing down a case, and buying fish, and so I was doing that and the bait business, and finally gave up the bait business. So from there it morphed. We want them to be fishy. When they dine and they realize they had a fish-gasm, which is, you know, the earth moves in many different ways.
Okay, fish gasm.
And they might have had a combo, so they had fish and they had oysters, consequently an oyster-gasm. You can't live on wishes, but you can live on fishes. Okay? We put a splash in your glass and a fish on your dish. What more could you wish, because it's so delish? We are so unique. What makes us as a different seafood shop or a seafood operation or a fishy experience, as I would say, is we do it all. There's not a thing that we don't do. For instance, you could look at anything you see here, anything. It's like you hum it, we'll sing it type of thing. You can go to the whole fish case. Boy, that snapper looks great. Why don't you snatch out the gills, scale it, butterfly it, all right? And why don't you either steam it, or why don't you saute it with some mushrooms and some capers and some white wine, and do a piccata sauce. Can you do that? Hell yes, we can do that. If you have an allergy, we can segregate. No, we won't put it on our flat top that has all different species. If you have that allergy, we got new saute pans for the kosher people. And only kosher species have been on that. I color code it. You know, I mean, there's not a thing that we don't do. So, yeah, as a protein, we do it all.